Sex is the life force energy that runs through us all. Can you use sexual energy for your spiritual evolution? Or perhaps for emotional healing? Is it even possible? Clinical sexologist Dr. Martha Tara Lee will explore all these and more on Eros Evolution on OMTimes Radio.
Welcome to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. My name is Martha. I'm a clinical sexologist based in Singapore, and my company is called Eros Coaching. That's EROS coaching.com. This is New Year in Singapore. This is 5 a.m. in Singapore, and this is the 1st of January 2016. I understand that this is New Year's Eve for many of you in the United States. And today's show is all about passion, and Happy New Year to you in advance. And we are going to be talking about how to stay passionately connected to your partner, with your partner for the long haul. And I have two very special people who are highly experienced when it comes to relationship. So relationship and life coaches, Rudy, Santiago, and Janie. I can't remember the name.
Terrazas,
sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
They are the owners of the Love Coaches. Their mission is to expand the hearts, minds, and souls of men and women seeking to experience richer, more meaningful, and fulfilling relationships. Together, they offer 360-degree points of view to help clients overcome obstacles and challenges they may be facing when it comes to dating and relationships. In today's show, we will be exploring how couples find it difficult to keep an open, honest line of communication with their partner, especially when it comes to sex. Over time, this creates underlying tension and resentment, which directly impacts the intimacy and passion. We believe it is possible for couples to avoid becoming disconnected emotionally and sexually if they are willing to make one another feel read. So this is an acronym for respected, appreciated, desired, and we will be exploring more about it in this show. So you can find them on this website. That's www.thelovecoaches.com, and I will be talking more about them as the show progresses. So welcome to the show, The Love Coaches.
Thank you. We're very excited to be here.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. I was chatting with them offline just now on Skype, and because you can't see them, I just wanted you to know that this couple is lovely. They're really, really cute looking.
Thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate that.
So I do have your bio here, but I thought it would be fun to have the two of you introduce a little bit about yourself and your work.
Sure. I'll let you start.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Well, I am a co-owner of the Love Coaches, and Luis and I together work as relationship and life coaches. And then as I've gone through my own evolution as a human being and getting closer and more connected to my sort of spiritual, authentic self, really beautiful gifts started opening up. And my intuitive gifts started to come to me, and I was really being guided to do a lot more hands-on healing work. So I am an intuitive energy healer, I'm a Reiki practitioner, and I'm also a spiritual advisor. And so it's really beautiful because as the female energy here in this duo between the two of us, there's a deeper understanding on what like people are feeling. So I'm able to really bring the empathy aspect of it. And Luis is actually good at that too, but as women understand, we naturally are more connected to that nurturing, empathetic, feel another person kind of side to ourselves. And so it's a really beautiful combination of the two. And Louis and I really enjoy working together, even though it's been a tough thing kind of trying to create a very strong marriage and at the same time build a business.
Yeah, I started off, well, a little backstory, and I'll make it short, was I, growing up, was a very shy, insecure guy. I tend to be introverted by nature anyway, so that's my personality. I'm kind of more on the quiet end, keep to myself. So that was me growing up. So I realized, I needed to kind of come out of my shell a little bit to meet women. And so I went on this journey to understand women and really figure them out and how to attract them. And after many years, it took years, I did become pretty good. I became really confident, and I was dating a lot, having a great time. And, as usual, like usually happens, my friends started noticing. So they were, would ask me questions like how to talk to girls or how to meet them. And so I started giving them tips. So I tell people that's when I really started coaching, was then. But then professionally, I started about 7 years ago. I was in a place in my life where I was kind of in between jobs and I didn't know which direction I wanted to go in. And one thing I tell people too, it's Janie was very fundamental to me becoming a coach because she probably saw it in me before I saw it in myself. So she was encouraging me and saying, you know what, you should really look into this. You're very passionate, even though we really don't know how we're going to do it, but we'll figure out a way. So she was definitely the one that motivated me.
Oh,
so I started,
nice.
Yeah, it was really great because I tell people all the time, I'm not sure if I would be doing it if it wasn't because of her. Mm-hmm. So I ended up moving back to Los Angeles at that time, and I met up with a relationship coach out there, and her and I started a company where we did workshops and coaching, and we even did a little bit of matchmaking. And after about a year of working together, we ended up being on a reality show called The Match Off, which was really exciting. And we ended up winning Best of the West Matchmakers, which was really cool. And yeah, that kind of set the groundwork for me to stay motivated and expand the business. And then fast forward a couple of years, Janie and I get married. We decide to move back to San Antonio, Texas, because this is where Janie is from, to be closer to her family. She had a new niece that was going to be on the way. And so at that time, when I moved here to San Antonio, I was planning on just coaching on my own. But as our relationship evolved and Janie and I had just gotten married, and like she said, she was going through her own personal journey, it made a lot of sense to include her in the business because she was always behind the scenes anyway. She was the one that was doing all the things I didn't like to do, such as the marketing and the reaching out to people. And so I've always felt that you definitely need both perspectives when it comes to relationships. And like she said, I mean, no matter how much I learn about women or study them, it's you have to have that perspective from a female. And that's why I had a female partner in Los Angeles. So it just made sense.
Yeah, and
for her to be part of the business and us to coach as a husband and wife relationship coaching team. Yeah,
and what we share with individuals, like our whole program and everything that we do, we really use in our own life and try to implement it. So it's like whatever we tell people, we actually do ourselves.
Yeah.
And like Louise said, I was in Los Angeles pursuing my own endeavors. I was working as a television host and a producer and doing fitness modeling. But interestingly enough, I always have really been into inspiring other people and helping people discover their own gifts and like encouraging them. And when I started producing my own content, it was really to show people how to overcome obstacles and challenges. And so it was always in me to kind of do this. But like Louise said, I was doing it from behind the scenes. And it was just this huge energetic shift that took place when we moved to Texas, that everything started to come together. And like Louise said, it was organically, we started coaching as a team. And that's when the business really started to thrive.
Awesome. Really lovely story. Thank you for sharing. I love the yin and yang energy in workshops. I have seen people co-facilitating, and I'm kind of envious of people who are able to do that, because I do believe that the masculine and feminine energy is much more apparent, and couples or clients would feel a lot more supported when they come together with that duality energy.
Yeah, that's one thing that's really great. I think that helps, especially and it's usually the men that are hesitant when coming to either coaching or possibly counseling. And I think that's why Janie and I have been successful, is because when they do come in for a session, they at least always feel like it was fair. And sometimes I feel maybe, there's some misconception where people feel if they go into counseling or coaching that it's not going to be fair. And having both Janie and I there, and we're very honest, a lot of times we'll be in a session and Janie and I might not always agree, but we give them both those perspectives and say, here's how we both feel about it, and then ultimately see which one rings true to you.
Exactly.
So, there are times most of the time we do agree, but definitely there are times where we just have different perceptions on the situation.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And the other wonderful thing about having us both there is, Luis always said from the very beginning, we always tell our clients in our first session, it's all about observation and reflection. It's not about blame and shame or judgment and criticism. And so we really do our best to create a safe environment for people, which is one of our whole thing is about how to feel safe in your relationships, which is why we came up with an acronym. And ultimately, everybody, when you feel safe in your own body, safe in your relationship, it really just comes down to feeling accepted and really feeling loved and really truly being able to be very honest. And a lot of us struggle with being honest in our relationships. And the more we're able to learn how to do that, the more successful we'll be and the higher chances of longevity we'll be able to, reach, I guess. And sometimes Luis can connect with the female. If a couple's coming to us, it could be that some of the things she's saying, I totally feel where she's coming from. And other aspects of her will be very similar to maybe Luis. And that sometimes happens with the male too. Like, as you mentioned before, the male and female energy comes into play because we all have a right and left brain. And we tend to resonate more on one side than the other, but it's not always gender-based. And that doesn't mean that a person can look meek and weak. You can have a man who looks very strong and masculine, but still communicate more from the right brain, which is female-based. So in that way, I'm going to be able to relate to him. Luis is a very sort of masculine man, and he's more left brain. And some women are very analytical and very logical and have a hard time talking about their feelings. And so all of this stuff comes into play when we're all meeting. And that's why I think people leave feeling like, wow, like they really felt me. I really was heard. And that's what we all want. We just want to be like, you're hearing me in my relationship.
Awesome. So we have a break, and we'll share more with the love coaches after this.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on the Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
If you remember living fearlessly, joyfully, and in a world filled with adventure, happiness, pleasure, and unbridled living, then this show is for you. Join me, Dame Nicole Brandon, as I bring you the world's top experts in wealth, creativity, flow, sea-edging technology, space, wellness, health, love, lust, and passion, all merging together each week here at the Hub of Happiness. Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Passionate Living, where you can ride on the magic carpet ride of living and learn how to lead a passionately wild, exciting, and outrageously amazing life.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Simone Milicis would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
You are listening to Arrow's Evolution on the OMTimes Radio Network, and you can share the show with your friends by sending them the link omtimes.com/mobile. With this link, your friends will be able to listen to the show without needing to download any app. How cool is that? So this is the last show of 2015, and I have with me relationship and life coaches Luis Santiago and Janie Terrazas. They are the owners of the Love Coaches, and their mission is to expand the hearts, minds, and souls of men and women seeking to have greater, fuller relationships and lives. Their own self-discovery journey of truth and love inspired them to design a relationship transformational process to be used individually or as a couple. Their illumination program, safe communication method, and their R.A.D love deeds are designed to empower others to stay passionately and powerfully connected with their partners so they can thrive for the long haul. And based on extensive studies, research, and personal experience, their program has helped change the lives of many around the world. You can find out more by going to their website, thelovecoaches.com. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us more about your programs and your teaching models.
Okay. Sure. So why don't we start with the R.A.D love deeds, because that's the simplest one. And so one day, Janie and I were working on these traits that we feel couples should make each other feel. And so we came up with what's called the R.A.D love deeds. And R.A.D is an acronym for respected, appreciated, and desired. And for some of your international guests that might not be aware, R.A.D is American slang for like awesome, cool, really, really nice, really good. And so that's what it stands for. It's like make your partner feel rad, which in other words would be really great, really awesome. And so if you can make your partner feel appreciated, respected, appreciated, desired, that is definitely the first step to maintaining a hot, harmonious, passionate relationship.
Yeah, so we can kind of go through maybe some examples, but ultimately before we kind of go through them, the overall thing about our program and everything that we aspire and inspire people to do is to illuminate their mind so that they can really open their hearts. And so there's a few things that we need to learn fundamentally about communication and about how our brain works and how everything comes into play so that we can really hone in on attaining the skills that you need, because relationships do require effort. It's before we go into the R.A.D love deeds, I always tell people, you have the friendship that needs to be nurtured, and you can look at that as a plant that needs to be watered. And then you have the campfire, which is the passion, and that awesome connection that you have in the bedroom. And so like with the plant, you have to water it. The campfire, you have to tend to the fire. And as a couple, you have to be able to have an open line of communication to figure out, what does that look like? What do I need to do to water the plant? What does it look like for you? And then we both try to make the conscious effort to do something of the sort on a fairly consistent basis. And that's what the R.A.D love deeds helps with. It's very simple things that over time, we forget to be kind to one another, or forget to say the things that they need to hear so that they do feel appreciated. And it's these very simple things that if you implement and make it a habit in your relationship, it makes it much easier, like what we said, to bring that connection into the bedroom. So I don't know if you want to, do you have any questions about that before we kind of go into them?
No, I love what you're sharing about the plant and watering it, and then the campfire for passion. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And for what we've also experienced is a lot of times, a lot of the issues that come up in relationships tend to fall within these three even though they're simple, a lot of times they can be hard to actually apply. And a lot of times what we see with couples is one of them, or sometimes both of them, is not feeling either one, two, or all three of these. Mm-hmm. If let's say, the wife is staying home, taking care of the kids and doing that, which is also very important. and the husband comes home and he doesn't maybe make her feel appreciated for what she does. And then she's on top of that, maybe not desiring her in the bedroom. And so then it starts to create all these issues. And the same thing for the man. Maybe he's going to work and, making the money and then coming home. And maybe when he gets home, instead of them connecting and telling each other how much they appreciate their roles in the relationship, they don't do it. And then they start to feel like the partner doesn't love them, and it goes on and on and on. So it was really great to come up with this acronym, because it's very simple. It's just a matter of applying them in your relationship.
Yes. So one of them, in terms of respect, honoring your word is a huge one, because, by the way, all of these things too help establish trust. If you don't respect one another, it's very difficult to trust one another. And there's different ways that men like to see that, they're being respected, but the way a woman feels respected might be a little bit different. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's trying to figure out each person's needs and wants, but overall honoring your word has to do with, if you say you're going to do something, really do your best to honor whatever that is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how small it is or how big it is. So if a husband is traveling out of town for work and he's like, I'll call you once I get settled in, and then maybe he doesn't call, that's one of those little things that can create a little bit of a spark between a person, in a bad way, not in a good way, but kind of create a little bit of some tension. And then when she expresses herself, he might not be very gentle, because he's kind of defending himself instead of being like, you know what, I'm sorry, you're right, I should have. And so then it creates a resentment between the two. And so, even something as simple as when I tell Luis, hey, you're going to get lucky tonight. I try. There's been a couple of times where maybe I said that and then I had a change of heart, and he had to come and tell me, be like, hey, listen, I'd rather you not tell me if you think there's a chance that it's probably not going to happen. And I was like, oh, touche, you're right. So even as something as little as that, you really want to try to follow through.
That's great. I also like what you're sharing about do what you say and say what you do. And also what you shared earlier, that both of you actually do your best to do what you teach and to apply those things into your own relationship. I think you guys are great in modeling this for your clients.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that's another thing. And even when we are with clients, Janie and I are very honest, because we're human, we're not perfect, and we never try to portray that we are. And sometimes we do forget. Sometimes we do, get caught up, like Janie said earlier, we're trying to run a business and, we have different things going on. And yeah, sometimes it will happen, a couple of days will go by and we slip and we forget. And, we have our challenges too.
Yeah. And when we're getting snippy, we know it's like, you know what? Hey, we really need to connect right now.
Right. So I think, clients appreciate that also when they come in. And there's been some times where maybe we have a client right after we've gone through something, and we'll share that in the moment. And it tends to be appropriate to the subject matter with the client. And I think they really appreciate that we tell them, look, we understand these things can be difficult, but if you can try to stay dedicated to the process, you're going to fall off sometimes, but it's okay because you're human, and try not to beat yourself up too much when you do happen to slip up, because it happens to all of us. And I think clients really appreciate that openness and that transparency when they speak with us.
Yes, all this stuff takes practice, but in due time, then it becomes second nature. And then that's when you really have that awesome flow in your relationship. I tell Luis, it's like we've been trying to figure out how to dance with one another. And I'm wanting to dance one way and he's wanting to dance another way. So clearly, as we're trying to figure out and find our harmony and find that perfect dance where he's feeling like he's got his rhythm and I've got mine, and we blend them beautifully together. And now we're not really stepping on each other's toes so much. One thing that a lot of times with a lot of couples will happen is making assumptions. That's how a lot of miscommunication happens, is because we are assuming something. When they say something, we're interpreting it in a certain way that doesn't sit well with us. And then we sometimes don't tell the person that in the moment. And so now we're kind of simmering and we're kind of like upset when there's really maybe no reason to. So it's really important to get comfortable asking the other person, hey, when you said this or when you did this, I kind of took it like this, even though that might not have been your intention. And then you can kind of clarify it and you're like, oh, and then you move on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's very important to do that. A lot of my clients go into second guessing, and over time, I call this like poison.
Oh, it is such poison. That's such a great analogy.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys are talking about the importance of friendship, passion, communication, as well as trust and respect. So what else do you share in your work?
Yeah. Well, we also, Janie kind of touched on it briefly. We have what's called the Safe Communication Program.
Yes.
And once again, SAFE, we love to have acronyms because they're easy to remember. But the SAFE program stands for, the S is for seek the truth. And then the A is accept accountability and responsibility. And then the F is free your mind. And then the E is then express and expand your heart. So that is the acronym for the Safe Communication Method.
Yeah, and to kind of give you an idea, we talked about our illumination program. So the overall umbrella is illumination, and we have safe self-discovery steps for an individual who is illuminating just their own self. And then we have also used that same acronym to help couples have a stronger way of communicating their needs and wants, like very effectively. And so like he said, they're kind of self-explanatory. Seek the truth is when you're first kind of figuring out what's really going on. What do I really need and want? And why do I really need this? And what's the disharmony going on between us? And trying to seek the truth and all of that. And then both individuals, because no matter what, there might be some times where it's more one person than the other. But anytime there's disharmony in the relationship, we have to take accountability and responsibility for our part. What are our habits or things that we're doing that are not aiding in sort of creating a healing in the relationship? And then free your mind. That's really freeing your mind from all these limiting ideas and beliefs. And then also a lot of times couples have old pain, not just from maybe a previous relationship, from their own that hasn't quite been settled. And so then it creates a crack in the foundation of your relationship. So we try to help people learn how to free their mind of these limiting ideas and beliefs that they have about one another. And
we need to break, and we'll come back and talk about this.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hey ladies, do you want to have that good hair day feeling all the time? Gentlemen, would you want your special someone to have that glow, letting you know she is feeling completely satisfied? This feeling and that glow can be yours by embracing your sexual power. So join me, Rachel Kenley, award-winning romance author, on the O-Spot. The O-Spot will guide you to that peak with guest interviews, book discussions, and conversations on the thrills of sexual empowerment. Put the zing back in your life. Come up and see me sometime on the O-Spot, live on Hump Day at 10 p.m. Eastern.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle. The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. We are with the Love Coaches, and we are talking about how to stay passionately connected with your partner for the long haul, not just for 1 or 2 days. This is for long-term relationships. And we are with Luis, who was the first male relationship coach to be hired by 3 Day Rule, the official matchmaker for Match.com. And he was voted the best of West matchmaker on NBC's reality series, The Match Off. Janie is a certified Reiki practitioner and spiritual advisor. Her natural intuitive gifts offer a unique healing insight to their coaching practice. For more about their services, free gifts, and inspirational advice, you want to go to their website, thelovecoaches.com. So just before our break, we were going through the SAFE model, and S stands for Seek the Truth, A stands for Appreciate, and something else?
Oh, yeah. So, sorry, the SAFE is, the A is Accept Accountability and Responsibility.
Okay.
And then F is Free Your Mind. And then when you finally get to the E, once you get real comfortable with the S and the A and the F, you're now at the E, where you're able to express and expand your heart. This is when you're truly safely communicating your needs, your wants, and your concerns honestly and effectively. And so this takes practice. But over time, you're able to use this method and this model personally. So like if I'm having a situation with Luis where I'm like feeling something, that our book that's going to be coming out, and I know I'm jumping everywhere, but we have a book coming out called Soul Song, and it's about illuminating your mind by reconnecting to your heart. And it's helping people learning how to love themselves and others unconditionally so they can create the life and the relationships and the happiness they truly desire, because the most important relationship is the one with yourself. And so anytime Luis, what we call pushing a button, you know, when somebody triggers something inside of you, our whole program is teaching people how to internally go inside and really seek the truth about what you're really feeling. So if a woman is pissed off because her husband didn't take out the trash, for her to be able to stop for a moment and really go inside and really figure out what's really going on here. And then taking a moment to not speak when she's overly emotional, because then we're irrational. It's learning how to balance, you know, the logical and the emotional. So logically, you need to go through a cognitive dialogue with yourself with these safe steps. And then once you get to the root of what it is, by that time, you might not even feel upset anymore and you don't have to confront them. But if you do, then I can go to Luis and say, hey, listen, let me know when is a good time to have a safe talk, because there's something I want to share with you. And that's another thing. People make the mistake of just jumping into sharing how they feel about something, and you have to really take the other person into consideration. You have no idea what's going on through their mind. And then if they don't respond well, we get our feelings hurt. Or in a man's case, maybe his feelings aren't hurt, but he gets angry. And so this whole safe thing is about learning how to have a more rational way of looking at your conflict, and then really finding a way to heal, because this is all about healing too. Once you're able to really maintain your poise and your partner's not triggering as many buttons, that's when you know you're really making progress in your relationship. Luis is here and he's showing me the sort of darker sides to myself so that I can shine a light on them, so I can bring them into balance, and vice versa. And that's a really difficult process to go through sometimes.
Yeah. I always say that your partner is like your mirror, and relationships are hard work, and people just assume that just because they are very attracted to each other in the beginning of the relationship that they are meant to be, and they don't need to put in any effort into their relationship. And that's just not true, as we know.
Right. You know, and relationships are just like anything else in your life. And that's another thing we tell people is, you know, if you want a great job, or, you know, if you want to start a business, you have to put time, energy, and effort into it. You know, if you want to be an artist and you want to create great paintings, you have to put time and energy into it. And relationships are no different. If you really want to have a great relationship, you really need to create it with your time, energy, and efforts. And sometimes it's like, you know, you as you know, you're also an entrepreneur, business owner, and so are we. And sometimes, you know, you have to do things that you don't enjoy or deal deal with issues that you don't want to, but the bigger picture is you're creating something bigger than yourself. And relationships are the same way. Occasionally, you're going to have to do something that you might not want to do or you might not be comfortable with, but it's about creating the bigger picture and having a really great relationship.
Yeah, both men and women need to get comfortable kind of stepping out of their comfort zones in certain areas. And that's what we kind of help couples do, help individuals do in dating and in their relationships. Another part of really going back to the R.A.D love deeds and feeling respected is, showing your support and really encouraging people. A lot of times couples will share ideas that they have or passions that they have. And sometimes our partners will kind of like rain on their parade a little bit, or say, oh, that's crazy, or what are you thinking? And again, that's another way where a couple can accidentally create, like, I call it like a paper cut. When you get a little paper cut, you're like, ow, and then when we continue to do those little paper cuts to each other, then it creates a really big wound, and then it can get like gangrene, and then just forget about it. Then it gets really hard to, get out of the hole and reconnect.
Yeah, I love how you guys are so experienced in your subject matter, because all these terms are just rattling off the tip of your tongue. There's R.A.D, there's SAFE, and then you have your illumination program. And I understand that your book is going to be based on this illumination program.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So your illumination program includes SAFE and R.A.D. And is there anything else in your illumination program?
We have the 7 positive daily habits. Again, all of these things that we do are to help people sort of open their hearts and open their minds and create a new way of being and thinking and feeling, because we've all sort of been stuck in this mentality of, if we can just get through this, they're basically trying to just survive their relationships. And not many couples are thriving in their relationships. And so we feel as an individual, you need to tap into that for yourself and really then bring that into your partnership. And that's what, the reason why I call it a soul song is because, and you are probably aware of this, but energetically speaking, a lot of your listeners are probably aware of, we have this biofield that's emanating from us. And that biofield holds all of your thoughts and your desires and your beliefs and your emotions, everything. It's emanating from you. And so if you don't really like how your relationship is going, if you don't like your life situation right now, it's time for us to sort of go internally and not feel like a victim anymore and really feel empowered so that you can create a life and a love life that you truly desire, as opposed to just kind of going through the motions and not really feeling enthusiasm about your partner and your relationship and life and love, and just kind of like, And so we really want to turn that around, and we want to stop this whole battle of the sexes. You know what? Like it's not working for us anymore. We need to stop talking about how different we are and being mad about it, and learning about each other on a deeper level so that we can work with one another in a more harmonious way. And that applies to every aspect of our life.
It's kind of like you were saying earlier about the yin and yang. When you really understand the meaning of that and understanding that it really is a balance between the two, and realizing how that balance creates harmony, and kind of like relating to our business where Janie has a lot of great qualities as a female, as a human being that are crucial to our business that the truth is I don't have or do feel comfortable with. And also from my side, I bring in my side into this. And because of that, we are able to create this business and, provide a very special service to people. And so it's the same dynamic within relationships when you can start to be appreciative of each other's differences and try to not have them create conflict or tension in the relationship.
Yeah, and I don't think I quite finished, but the biofield that emanates from us, I call it our soul song. So as a Reiki practitioner, I believe all of us have an authentic self that we are trying to remember and reconnect with. And when we do that, That's when we're really singing the melody that we were intended to sing, the person that we were intended to be, our purpose, and all of that sort of comes into alignment. And so we're here to help everyone sort of fine tune their soul song so that they can then attract and create a reality that is more in alignment with the sacred heart, you know? It's like really going into that space and bringing that heart into the throat and into the mind, so that we're speaking more gently, we're speaking more authentically and honestly, and in the mind is now working in harmony with the heart, because we have such self-sabotaging thoughts going on in our mind. And so our whole program is to help sort of clean and clear that and detox, so that you as a person are illuminated, and therefore you are going to bring that light into your relationship.
That's beautiful. So all these things can also apply when it comes to sexual relationships, sexual communication.
Yes, absolutely. The same steps that you would apply when there's conflict, you can apply when you want to have a discussion about sex, because just like in a situation where, a conflict can be an uncomfortable topic, whatever is causing the conflict, same thing in a sexual conversation, it can be uncomfortable. And so applying the steps that we recommend hopefully will make the process easier and will allow that open communication so that you guys can discuss whatever the issue is.
Yeah, and a lot of times couples, some people, depending on how solid of a relationship they have, they might be able to kind of just go through our videos and read about this and try to figure out how to apply it themselves. But that's what we are also here for. We're here to teach people and at least be the mediator, so we can kind of help bridge the communication gap at first. And then with due time, they're able to do it on their own, and then they kind of touch base with us whenever they need us from time to time. But the way you enter that dialogue needs to be very, you need to create a very safe space. And there's a certain way to go into that with the partner. So really kind of saying, hey, listen, I especially if they're already having pretty good sex. So whether you're having no sex, if you're having good sex and you want to take it to the next level, this is going to apply for anybody. But if you're just ready for something different, or you're ready for a deeper connection, then it's important for you to tell your partner that. Say, hey, listen,
we have a break. Yeah, sorry, okay. We have a break. So the last segment after this.
Okay.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. FM.
If you remember living fearlessly, joyfully, and in a world filled with adventure, happiness, pleasure, and unbridled living, then this show is for you. Join me, Dame Nicole Brandon, as I bring you the world's top experts in wealth, creativity, flow, seat-edging technology, space, wellness, health, love, lust, and passion, all merging together each week here at the Hub of Happiness. Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Passionate Living, where you can ride on the magic carpet ride of living and learn how to lead a passionately wild, exciting, and outrageously amazing life.
Hey ladies, do you want to have that good hair day feeling all the time? Gentlemen, would you want your special someone to have that glow, letting you know she is feeling completely satisfied? This feeling and that glow can be yours by embracing your sexual power. So join me, Rachel Kenley, award-winning romance author, on the O-Spot. The O-Spot will guide you to that peak with guest interviews, book discussions, and conversations on the thrills of sexual empowerment. Put the zing back in your life. Come up and see me sometime on the O-Spot, live on Hump Day at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Host your show on FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business, and share your pictures with hashtags Business Done Where and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. This is the last 15 minutes of the show, and we're talking about all the different things you can do with the love coaches on how to stay passionately connected for the long haul. We've been talking about the R.A.D model and their SAFE model as well, and also the Illumination program. They are going to be publishing a new book, their first book called Soul Song, and it will be available from January. So if you would like to be the first to be able to know about the book, then do subscribe to their website, The Love Coaches. So we're back from the break. Is there anything that we were cut off just now?
Yeah. Oh, well, basically we were kind of talking about how, it's whether the man or the woman, it's usually a woman that kind of starts these kind of conversations typically, but it's just to let your partner know that they're interested in possibly opening up a dialogue about sex. And you can even say, I know it's not something we really talk about, but I kind of want to check in and see if maybe there's anything that you're desiring or maybe that we're desiring, just kind of open up a dialogue. And one thing, I'll post this soon, hopefully in the next few days, but I was thinking of like the top sex questions committed couples need to cover. And some of them are so basic and others are a little bit more heavy duty. But I feel like it's really important for people to kind of like go over some of these things. Like one of them is like, what turns you off sexually? Or is there anything you're sexually curious about? And why would you like to try that? Do you enjoy dirty talk? If so, what do you like to hear? Do you like giving and or receiving oral? Like sometimes people don't really like to talk about that, and it's important for them to know what their partner needs and wants. You can kind of cover a couple other ones,
Yeah, and just to go over a couple really quickly, that could start off the conversation is, what helps you get in the mood outside of the bedroom? How do you like to be kissed and where? What time of day do you prefer to be intimate? And like Janie said, she'll have these up on the website. But they're just really great conversation starters where they're not confrontational. They don't make the other person feel like they're doing anything wrong. And you are coming more from a place of curiosity instead of, oh, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, like blame and shame. And with each of these questions, there'll be a little information with each one so that they kind of have an idea of how to tread those waters when it comes to that question. Another really big one is, how do you feel about pornography? Luis and I did a teleseminar about that. And that's important, because some people don't really talk about that. And it can make a woman feel extremely insecure if they find out that their husband is looking at pornography. And a lot of times women just want to understand where it comes from, but men sometimes feel very shamed about it. And so there's a great teleseminar link on our site too that they can check out. But really one of the most important things, and you can kind of touch on this a little, is knowing your sexual essence. And we have a video on our website that kind of maybe can start to spark a little bit of a dialogue within themselves to see, oh, what am I? What do I resonate more with? Because the polarities really come into play in the bedroom.
Yeah, it's really important for you to understand your polarity. And we said earlier, it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. You can be a male and prefer a more submissive role in the bedroom. And you can be a female and prefer a more dominant role in the bedroom. And so you want to be aware of what that polarity is, because sometimes what happens is, pretty often actually, you will attract the opposite polarity. And if you're not comfortable with your current polarity and it changes, it can affect the relationship in the bedroom. So to give you an example is, we've had a couple clients actually where the woman in the relationship, she was very masculine outside of the bedroom and very driven, ambitious, sometimes entrepreneurs. And so they have this masculine essence throughout the day, well, they tend to attract a guy that tends to be a little more laid back, a little more easygoing. He's maybe a little more feminine. But unfortunately, what happens is that dominant woman, that dominant essence woman in the bedroom wants to be submissive. And so here she ends up attracting a guy that either doesn't have it in him, doesn't know how to do it, or doesn't feel comfortable in it. And so if she is aware of her essence, she can either attract the right person or at least open that communication early on in the relationship so that it doesn't happen years later where she's like, oh my God, for so many years, he just doesn't do it for me in the bedroom, but I love everything else about him. Mm. So being really aware of that in the beginning early on, it doesn't mean necessarily you have to change anything, but at least you're aware. And if a conversation is necessary, then you can have it.
Got it. So I want to ask a question around the link between sexuality and spirituality, because this is what the show always explores. So what is your opinion on this link?
Actually, that's a great question, and I feel really good talking about that, because that was what ultimately made the difference for me in my life when it came to, well, it's obviously my relationship with Janie, but my view of relationships in general. And we'll just speak about this briefly. Right before Janie and I got married, a year before we got married, we ended up breaking up. She actually broke up with me, and I wasn't being a very good boyfriend, and I deserved it. But one of my unfortunate beliefs was the idea of a man being able to be happy with one woman sexually for the rest of his life. I had a hard time with that concept because, as most people tend to believe, and unfortunately it's put out there a lot, is once you get married, you don't have sex as often, the sex gets boring, then you end up not having it, and blah, 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 blah. And so that program was also in my mind when it came to sex and relationships. I came across a really great book that I recommend to all men, and it's called Tantric Secrets for Men. And that was the first time, and there is a lot of, different aspects to Tantra, but one of the main aspects of it is that sex should be a spiritual experience between yourself and your partner. And once I really grasped that concept, it took our relationship and our sex lives to a completely new level with Janie and I. And I feel that definitely needs to be a part of any long-term relationship, because it's really what's going to keep you guys connected, when you can really take that spirituality, whatever that spirituality means to you, of course, and really combine it into your sex life, your intimate time, so that it can transcend, all other aspects of it.
Yeah, I call it sexy, sacred sex. And sometimes that can be controversial because people still think like the spiritual love making, you can't be dirty and be spiritual at the same time. And again, that's all relative, right? But there is that detaching from any guilt. As women, there's a lot of things that in our psyche that we need to detach from so we can truly relinquish and really feel free to totally be ourselves and express ourselves in whatever capacity that may be. And for us, sex is about connecting, it's about healing, and it's about pleasure. It's a combination of all of it. And the beautiful thing is when men and women learn how to understand this energetic system and know how to use their breath and set this beautiful intention when it comes to their sexual intimacy, men are capable of having full body orgasms, multiple orgasms without ejaculating. And Luis has never experienced that before. And myself too, I was having major intense orgasms in it. And it was really crazy because a lot of old stuff that I would have never even thought I thought I was already healed from all of it. Interesting things were coming up. And so sometimes there'd be times where I would cry after having an orgasm, but it was like elation, like a release of some sort. It was really beautiful. And so it was like a work in progress for us to kind of get to that place. But my orgasms were incredible and they were lasting longer. And now I know how to play with my energy, that I can literally stretch them out and intensify them and compact them. I mean, there's so many different things I can do with them now. And when a man has that type of an experience physically for the first time, it almost diminishes a one night stand or like going to have like sex with somebody new for the first time. It's almost like this intensity is so much more desirable and so much more tapped into nirvana and bliss because it is a divine experience that you can't really just have that with just somebody that you don't know. It's been developed over time between us. And, you know, once again, it goes back to that safe. Luis has made me together. He's made me feel really safe. And that's what men have to understand. A woman's mind and heart and her body, if she feels really safe with you in all of those areas, goes back to our R.A.D love deeds, make your woman feel respected, appreciated, and desired. And man, will she like tap into her pussycat doll and like really bring it in the bedroom.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I really love what both of you are sharing about Tantra, because I think for a lot of men especially, they start getting interested in this as they get older, and they start getting anxious around whether their penis is going to work. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think more and more people need to realize that there is a spiritual aspect to sex. And therefore, if they've gone that way, they wouldn't want to look back anymore. And their lives would be very different. The essence of sex will feel very different. And this is probably one of the reasons why some people do question what sex is really about, because they do feel empty afterwards.
Right.
Yes.
I will say that for the men that are listening, like you said, there are many things to Tantra, and some of them are like the rituals and things like that. So take what rings true to you. But discovering that was probably one of the greatest things that I could have found for myself as a man and just as a human being, to be able to apply some of those practices with my partner.
Yeah, we're having so much fun, and we've come to the end of the show. And be sure to check out the Love Coaches for their website and newsletter, their Facebook, Twitter, and they have a new book that will be coming out soon called Soul Song. So thanks for listening to the last show of 2015. See you next week.
16, awesome!
Thank you.
Thank you.